Right. Did you want to give it a shot with the whole talking part at the beginning? And then just attack it, I guess?
Well, I mean, why don't we just start right here?
You just want to start from here?
Let's just start right here. You know what we need to do is just start from the beginning.
Okay, then.
So, where does it begin, right? The question is, we're here to talk about the No Mercy Revolver, of course, the E-Class. This is a special edition, extremely low quantity sold. And the story all began on this previous store rotation, Thursday. Right? So,
yep.
I was actually in stream here with you. We were waiting for the store to rotate. And when that hit the workshop page, the look on your face was priceless. What was the first thing that you thought when you saw that there?
So, first of all, I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to be complete the sets. Being honest, that was the case. Secondly, I was very happy to see the chest plate was accepted. Congratulations, by the way. But then I saw that, and in like passing, I was like, haven't we already seen that before? And we did, didn't we? About 4 months ago, technically speaking. Because it's not the same one, is it?
No. That's it was like deja vu all over again.
So, just a quick look here, and as you can see, the two of them, what we saw 4 months ago was the version 2. But what we saw this past Thursday for Complete the Sets, version 1. And this is what is now known as what Mr. Micro called No Mercy Revolver E-Class. So, Micro, this past weekend and for the past few days, we've just kind of been discussing, is this even rare? Is it even valuable? Do you want to kind of go over on that real quick?
That is a good question. I mean, there's actually someone in chat here who was in part of the whole situation as it unfolded, a very quick thinker. There's actually probably a few people out there, but when this rotated, it was only on the store for a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah, it was about 10 minutes.
It was a very fleeting period where that happened. And we weren't sure as it happened, right? Was it going to be were they going to reissue the same skin that was, the old one? Were they going to update any that sold to be the new one? Was it worth buying? Were they going to take it away? But a couple quick thinkers out there were jumped right on that and saw an opportunity there. And they took that risk or took that chance. And we could see actually a couple of them represented on SCMM for us.
But what we should say is...
We want to point out, the special name, you called it E-Class. What do you think E stands for?
Well, potentially today, expensive or elusive. That's better. That's better. But, a lot of people, initially were thinking, should I offer $1,000? Or just a few $100, maybe? How much are you planning to offer, Micro?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some things to consider with that. My initial reaction was like, oh, wow, that's super elite, exclusive, and all of those E words. And I would pay $10 for that. Sure. Now, at this point, when it first came out, I don't think I would have paid $10. I would have paid the $2. In fact, I was going to try to buy one. But at this point, I mean, $10 isn't too outlandish for something that's part of a quite highly demanded set. And, it's a pretty cool looking skin, too.
What I think we should probably just really verify the point across is this only had 58 subscribers. And, on average. So, for example, what we see here, we tend to see thousands of people buy skins, don't we? But when you look at a specific skins workshop, if you buy it, the skin, you automatically become a current subscriber. So, by the looks of things, this only has 58 people that bought it. And that's what we, by default, initially assumed. This has got to be really special, rare, hardly any exist. But that's where we actually started to really kind of crack down the numbers, wasn't it, Micro? You kind of had a good idea of deducing everything, like to the bare minimum, how many there are actually potentially in circulation. So, like you referenced earlier, we have these people here. But who are the other people? Could you remember the other numbers? We had...
We definitely had a few people right away posting in the various investor channels about purchasing a stack of 30 or 10, or one of our friends bought 3 of them, and
that would be Jordan. I'm not sure if he's here right now, but go on.
We there was a lot of uncertainty about what was going to happen with that, and just taking a step back before we really look at all the possibilities for what could have unfolded after those few minutes. But even just leading into it, right? What were your thoughts? Did you think this was going to be like a special edition, or do you think they were going to take it away?
So
did any of that cross your mind? Like, there's a lot happening in the store rotates. There's all these different sets being continued. They hit us with a surprise, complete the sets. It's like such a wild thing to happen. You have to assume, and we have seen some other mistakes happen before too, with naming conventions. Or
yes, we've seen spelling mistakes. We've seen instances where some weapons, skins, had exactly the same name, haven't we? And then we saw that being fixed afterwards. What was the most recent one? Warlord Hatchet and Gothic Warlord Hatchet. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
So
sure do.
There have been silly instances like that before. But when I first looked at this, I thought to myself, the first thing I thought to myself was, oh no, is this even going to be marketable? Is this even going to be tradable? Is this going to be freely accessible?
Trophy, right?
Yes.
It didn't take long for them to come to their realization that, like, we didn't want it to be this way. And so they just stopped it right in their tracks.
That's a very good reference, because I talked about that. Do you know what the annoying thing is? During this video, I pointed out there's only 17 left on the Steam market. Someone went and bought one. There's 16 now. There might be even less. You know what? I guess we could quickly go take a look over there real quickly. But yeah, when we have something that lots of people assume to be, not exactly abundant in quantity and whatnot, people, of course, will like to collect. We know about this. We know people like to collect skins. A lot of the ones that came out from a long time ago. Wasn't there a guy that was like collecting all the wisdom doors? The one with the it was a wooden door with the owl on it and whatnot. I believe you came across them before. Am I saying it correctly?
No, that's right. That's what that is.
So, do you remember the egg suit situation as well, Micro, last year?
Oh, yeah.
So that wasn't supposed to be, like, released. And, of course, throughout all of last year, from 2022 all the way in the lead up to Easter of 2023, there was a lot of very rich individuals that are seeking out all of the egg suits. They had a lot of money to spend, and they wanted to flex it. So they went and tried to buy all of the egg suits back when they were worth like at least more than $2,000. Do you remember the infamous trade? I don't have the image of it at the moment.
Yeah,
but
sure do. It was like a whole inventory full of big grins.
Yes, the big grins just for one egg suit. And now an egg suit costs like $10. I mean, I could probably quickly go check right now. It might be on the front page. But yeah. We're not going to see something like that happen. I don't think we're going to see the E-Class ever being brought back. But yeah, just real quick, you can see... Oh, I've spelled it wrong. I spelled it too quick. But yeah.
There's a couple differences here between the No Mercy E-Class and the egg suit. I mean, there's a big difference in just the way they look in game. Imagine being the one guy with an egg suit running around when no one else could get them. Like, that must have been quite the privilege. So I can understand people spending big bucks to have that. But yeah, I mean, again, that was something very rare and also extremely distinct and stand out and highly memeable in game. So that is quite a desirable thing I could see.
So initially,
it's a little less. It doesn't have quite as much pop. It certainly is a flex. Don't get me wrong.
See, that's the problem. The only difference in when you look at this and this is it's got a different color wrapping. So maybe not everybody would realize the difference. Maybe there's going to be people pretending that they have the extra special rare one when they just have the version 2 version. So the main thing that I was trying to get across, though, Micro, is this is definitely building up some sort of notoriety. It's definitely building up a sense of demand. When I initially saw this, so going back to your main question, I do think quite a lot of rich individuals might be seeking these out, knowing that there potentially isn't that many of them, and just trying to be the guy that has most of them.
I could see that. I could definitely see this being a flex item just for the scarcity of it and just low supply. I mean, there's no way to fake that. There's no way around it. And, there's quite a few other things in the game that are, scarce or in low supply. And it's the law of supply and demand. So those types of things just tend to be expensive.
So to answer your question, Morbid, all right, we don't know. We don't know yet. As of now, it is the evening time on Wednesday, the 16th of August. As of now, we don't know if this is going to be marketable and tradable. Like we were discussing this a little bit earlier, it kind of looks like Face Punch is going to let this rip and just let it out there. Go be free. You're a special skin now. We made a mistake, but you know what? Everyone who is lucky to go buy one, you can be special with this skin or just sell it for a lot of money potentially. So it potentially will be marketable. Now, of course,
it does seem like so far all signs point to it being marketable. We still have to maintain a bit of skepticism there because, Face Punch can decide to change that. But the fact that they've given it its own unique name, the data for the item definition on Steam right now indicates that it will be marketable, tradable. So we really don't have any signs pointing to it being unmarketable or account bound. So my hopes are high that we'll be able to buy and sell them. And I do intend to put a buy order down for one.
So the real question is it going to be abnormal or not? We'll be finding that out in just a few hours. But how about we start properly figuring out now, Micro? How many of these potentially do exist? So as we've referenced earlier, 58 individual people bought them. But as you go on.
We've always been able to get a good sort of gauge at how many skins have sold just by looking at the subscriber count. But as anyone who's been around for a while can tell you that number represents unique sales. So if one individual buys 10, the count will increment by just one because it's just one person buying those. So now, in that just single transaction, there's 9 duplicates that are sort of not accounted for by that tally in the workshop page. So you can definitely get a very solid picture of how many were sold in terms of, number one, a bare minimum, like a floor for sure, that were no fewer were sold than that number. But you can, kind of estimate what the number might look like by understanding what people do. They buy duplicates, people invest, people plan ahead. And
well, we definitely encourage it, don't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it looks like something special or something desirable and you want to make that, investment-minded move to scoop up a couple and have them around, that's certainly something you could do if you thought you were going to make some money. And that's the beauty of the Steam market. I mean, that's why we're all here, I think, is, and for the thrill of buying and selling and trading on the Steam market. It's a really fun environment. So, we can, those enthusiasts among us will know the subscriber count is relatively meaningful, but we have to, in our minds, leave room for some additional copies that are always sold. It's common practice to buy multiples, and we can sort of extrapolate that number a little bit, but we have some additional insight.
Yes,
because
we do.
Part of Hedge's investment sort of community that he's built among.
They're all talking there.
Everybody's chiming in with the latest news about the Steam market and investments and whatnot. So a couple of people were a bit braggadocious and wanted to share their scores, and rightfully so. That's an enviable decision to make. You know, quick thinking. Store rotates. You know, you see something special, you scoop up a couple, and there was a few people that are documented on SCMM as having a stack of, what is it, 30 or 25?
Yes. So we should point out, SCMM cannot track everybody. Only people who kind of allow themselves to be seen if they interact with SCMM or whatnot. And yeah, we got 30, we have 25, and we have 1. So out of these 3 people, we see 56 skins. Now, Micro, as you're alluding to, we do know 2 more individuals that own these. Should I quickly point out the other numbers then?
You might as well throw the counts in there. I mean, it's up to you if you want to share the identities of those involved.
No, well, Jordan was one of them, because I already mentioned that earlier. So Jordan was one. He randomly appeared just a few days ago. He saw my video, the Rust rotation, when we're talking about it. He says he bought 3 and he proved it. He showed me his inventory. I can confirm that. There is another individual who sent me a screenshot, and he has 10. So if we add up all the numbers now, from just 5 people, we can add up 30, add 25, add 1, add 3, add 10, equals 69. Hey. No, I'm not joking.
Nice.
That wasn't supposed to be a joke. That quite literally is the number. So if we have...
Quite serendipitous. I'm in... The universe is works around numbers, people, and it was meant to.
So, like... As Micro had put it, we can figure out what the bare minimum will be. Out of 58 people, we've got the numbers from 5 people, and that's 69. So the remainder is 53 people. What did they buy? We don't know. But if they all just bought 1, at bare minimum, all we have to do now is figure out what's 69 and 53.
Yeah, the math I would do there is out of the 69, we know there's 5 people buying them. So really that's 64 duplicates. The 5 unique ones you take away, you've got 64 duplicates that we know of. Tack that on to the 58. And what did we say that was? 122?
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
So, we sort of have a way of demonstrating a numeric, these are all validated claims too. I mean, we have the 3 of these on SCMM. We have a few other people that Hedge has vetted by checking their inventory. So we've confirmed that we know of the location, essentially. We know of the existence of 122 of these. So it's only reasonable to assume that anyone else, that's of the 5 people, that's less than 10% of the total unique buyers that are represented there. So we don't really have a good way to extrapolate that into a meaningful number. But I would have to say that if somebody, just considering the mindset of that type of person who's that quick to jump in and buy something, I think they had a clue that this was going to be something special.
Yes.
And on account of that, they took a leap of faith and committed to, multiple purchases. Now, I don't know of any others, so I can't say with certainty.
I don't either.
Exist.
So,
but
yeah, go on.
So yeah, we can say we only know those 2 numbers, 58 and 122. But if I had to guess, I'm guessing the number is at least over 130.
Yeah, it's quite common to see people buy more than 1. Like Jordan, who's new to me, who I'd never met before. Even he bought 3. So it's becoming quite a common theme now that people like to buy a few more. They'll buy maybe 1 for themselves, and then they'll probably buy an extra couple, because by default with skins, they probably think, this might be pretty good to invest into. I can't really confirm that behavior, but we're seeing a lot of people buy multiples. And then, of course, you take a look at these Rust stores, and you're seeing a lot of...
Some of the first parts of the No Mercy set really did do pretty well on the market. They've been very healthy skins that have performed well on the market over time. It's always staying in demand. So, if someone was just investment minded, they might associate No Mercy with something that is consistently in demand. And, all you snow players out there, you got to have your white set for sure.
But there is also the possibility that some people had the at least some knowledge in regards to what was happening, that they probably jumped in and bought a few themselves under the assumption that because we kind of noticed there was something wrong when we first refreshed this page, saw that revolver. My words, as I said, that sword, should that even be there? And I even did a tweet, didn't I? Some people probably picked up on that. They probably even weren't even watching the stream. Some people probably just knew something was odd, and they probably jumped in and bought some. So the whole idea of, is there even more out there? Very likely.
There must be.
There must be. So should we now push on to start figuring out, is this even rare when we compare it to...
I think we should put that into perspective because, obviously the ready assumption here is like, wow, this was on sale for 5 to 10 minutes, and in modern days, like that's like unheard of. It's very, very unusual for something like this to occur. And, it took us all by surprise for sure. But, I think with just as an outsider or a casual person who's somewhat aware of the skin market, you might at first glance think to yourself like, wow, that's insane. That must be the rarest revolver, right? I mean, that was my first thought, was like, man, these people that bought a couple, like I'm so envious that they were so quick thinking to make a decision, like seeing that coming. They must be visionaries, right? But I started thinking to myself, well, I don't know. There's got to be some kind of older skins that are also somewhat low in quantity. Let me look at those because they've had a chance to equibrate with the Steam market, and supply and demand has definitely sort of reached that point where it's in a happy spot.
Well, if only we had a database in front of us that was freely available where we could get this information from. Well,
precisely what I did next.
So, with SCMM, we can look up revolvers specifically, as you can see right there. And yeah, over the years, there's been a lot of revolvers. But for our specific faults, do you reckon we're going to be wanting to look at lowest overall estimated total supply? Or, we don't actually know that answer in regards to this No Mercy E-Class revolver. Should we probably focus lowest subscribers? Do you reckon that's a better ask?
To be honest, I think they're both worthy of points, angles of attack for examining what possibilities might be out there. So let's look at both, pick whichever you think is right.
So
with here,
first thing I did was lowest estimated total supply. And there's even less for some of these revolvers here. So, getting a good look, I see Western Revolver Gold here that apparently only has 87 in quantity. Bandito Revolver apparently only has 102. And the biggest surprising thing is these skins have been around for like 6 years now. That's ridiculous. But yeah. So then
they are commanding a bit of a price there, right? I mean, one is $5, the other one's like $8. So there's certainly something that is on par in terms of rarity or quantity in circulation. But also keep in mind, SCMM has limited insight into player inventories. It's really only representing those who opt in to the service, and there are, you could look someone's account up and it'll be entered into the database. So you could conceivably be tracked even if you weren't an active user. But if your account's private or anything, SCMM just has no way of knowing what your situation is. So if someone bought 10,000 of these, and I'm not suggesting that anyone did that, but if they had, you would have no way of knowing by looking at SCMM here. So what we can see is really the quantity that are known to exist. And for some of these, like the Outback and the, Hedge, you've resorted the list.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, I was about to say that. So I actually just quickly checked lowest subscribers, and now I've noticed even less.
This is where I started. In my analysis.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a more telling view into the picture, a bit clearer of a picture. So you look at this list here, and a couple of these really don't provide us much value. In fact, those top two on the top, the Outback and the Ornate Tempered.
Well, that was given away for free.
The Ornate Tempered was a Twitch drop.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of those out there. That's not in any way rare, but there's just no workshop data on that, so it's not organized well into the list. The same is true for Outback Revolver. That doesn't show the subscriber count in the workshop.
That came out in 2015.
If that's crazy old, and I'm surprised it's only $4.
Yeah.
But now, you look at across the entire top row, everything to the right of the Ornate Tempered, every one of those skins has fewer subscribers on the workshop, and almost every one of them has approximately the same or less that are known to be in supply. So I was shocked to discover this, and it didn't take much of a search here. It was really just sorting the list by subscriber count. But I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'm going to invest in a revolver and place a buy order on something that's rare, strictly on account of it being rare, then there might be a few other options to consider. I'm not saying that the No Mercy is a bad option. I think, in fact, No Mercy is definitely rare by comparison to the whole portfolio of skins we have access to.
But what we can confirm now is it isn't actually the rarest revolver in itself, which, technically speaking, I guess we can kind of visualize here. Like, we keep fussing about, this only had 58, this only had 58. Well, this apparently only had 53, that one too. This one had 51. This one had 41. This one had 36. That one had 35. And this one, with the one that we can actually verify, is the lowest one with only 29. Like, maybe we should look at these instead.
Well, there's a lot of factors involved. The No Mercy, as I can see someone else is commenting in chat there, is definitely clearly the skin of these lot that has the highest affiliation with a successful set. In fact, I'm not sure any of these other ones are part of a set. Forest Guardian, that sounds familiar, but
I think Dynamo, I think Bandito was something as well. Like, some of them have some fairly, what's the word to say? Like Firefighter. Well, we know there's some other Firefighter skins, but just because it is called Firefighter doesn't necessarily mean that's a collection. Like, they have some very generic style type of names, don't they?
That's true.
So yeah.
True.
So
No Mercy is the most distinguished and the most prestigious of these types of skins. But my thought process really here when looking at the numbers really just talks, is thinking about the rarity and what the forces of supply and demand alone will do. Now, supply and demand, of course, is like people need revolvers or want revolver skins. They of course they're most likely going to pick one that's cool, but when it just comes to desirability based on low supply, because after all, if you already have a No Mercy revolver, what do you need this one for? I mean, visually they're not that different.
yes.
So if it's just an aesthetic thing, this is probably not that desirable.
But what did I mention earlier? The flex of having it, or the flex of having the most. Because there's always going to be those types of individuals out there. And remember what you said earlier. Imagine being one of the only few people who had the X-suit when there was apparently only 4 or 5 that existed. People like that. People like to be in that position. And
I like a good flex. I'm not going to lie. I have a few flex skins on my profile.
So even though we've seen this now, even though that we have seen that this No Mercy revolver, technically speaking, isn't the rarest revolver skin that currently exists. As of now, I should point out, we don't 100% know what the actual number in circulation, how many have actually been bought, how many exist.
And we don't know that for any of these.
Yeah. It still has that notoriety. And I do still think it's probably still going to be somewhat valuable. I just don't think 100%, I don't think that's going to be worth $1,000. So let's rule that out. But even now, I don't think it's even worth 100. Like, if you're going to sit there and say that No Mercy revolver's worth $100, well then if you're going to think like that, technically speaking, wouldn't you say this to a lot of the other ones with very similar subscriber counts and potentially?
Stop you, Hedge.
Oh, go on then.
How many? What was the price for that most recent Twitch Rivals trophy that sold? Remind me.
I could probably hop back to there and just go back a bit.
Like $600, right?
$600 as of now.
Some absolute maniac out there had $600 burning a hole in their pocket and needed to have one of these. What's to stop that same guy from pulling $600 out of his other pocket and buying one of these No Mercy revolvers?
True,
If
true.
he wants it really bad. If some people, they got the case of the gimmies. They got the wants. And they want it and they gotta have it.
True. That's where I feel like the notoriety behind it potentially could fuel the likes of this revolver, and we potentially might see someone who just felt like, you know what, I'm going to be the one with 100, and they're going to just kind of scoop them all up to themselves, and nobody else can have them, because that's what some people are like. So... yeah,
Everyone's got to have their own flex, it's got to have your style. So if that's your thing, and there are definitely some No Mercy fanatics out there, and I'm serious, there are fanatics. Their whole profile is dedicated to No Mercy skins.
Noah had a very good point. That half the reason why No Mercy collection is probably quite valuable is because it came out before Whiteout. It was the best white set to use in the Arctic snow environment before we had Whiteout. Technically speaking, I guess we could probably agree on that, because didn't most of No Mercy come out and well, I can prove it now. I can check.
There was the GOOly set.
There was the GOOly set.
Did really well, yeah.
So yeah, this all came out in 2020.
Remember, before the HDRP update, the graphics were different. We had the HDRP backport, and I forget the specific date. That might have been 2021, or maybe it was 2020. The date slips my mind, but the graphics, the visual fidelity, the way the terrain interacted with the environment, you just sort of, some of these skins worked better as camouflage back then, and now it's different. Prime example is the Forest Raiders set. But yeah. I mean, there's probably a reason that the set has stayed in favor, and it looks cool.
Yeah,
it's just a cool looking set.
We should.
There's a mouse pad. There's a No Mercy mouse pad for.
Yeah, this is actually, I should probably point this out. No Mercy collection is the biggest collection in Rust, as in it's got the most acceptances, and just get a good visual and all of that. And yeah, there's definitely a style to it. And like you said, you could get a mouse pad of the likes of that little skull there with the wings and all the nice black and white trimming and all that. It does look cool. So obviously, it's been a mainstay in terms of what people desire, the demand, one of the go-to collections of skins and whatnot. So behind that revolver there, it's got quite a lot of support. There's a lot of things there that could definitely help it out in regards to its value, but there's also a realistic kind of outlook where you can kind of realize this probably isn't exactly super, super rare. But desired, I do still think so. The notoriety behind it, the urge to collect, I do think people will be approaching this. So it's been quite a bit of a discussion, hasn't it? Just trying to get down to the main points and getting a good outlook, getting all the context out there to see, how many potentially are in circulation, is it truly valuable based on statistics that we can, look at? I guess it's in the eye of beholder or whatever.
That's exactly what it is.
Eye of the beholder.
These older skins have been in rotation for a while. Supply and demand has done its thing, and you can see where the course of time has led us to with the prices for these other skins. So, rarity does not necessarily equal high value. There also has to be that interest from the players to use them, and that interest can vary over time as things with the game change. But one thing that's for sure is No Mercy set itself has always been in demand, and I see no reason for that to change. And on account of this being in such short supply and also being associated with the No Mercy set, I could see some, motivated people out there to be willing to cough up a good price for something like this. Now, I mean, you look at other fields of collectibles, whether that's action figures or postage stamps or
Card games.
cosmetics. Yeah. I mean, there's exactly
There was the One Ring card. There's the special Magic card, the One Ring. Post Malone bought it, didn't he? $2 million.
Was it like a Black Lotus or something?
It was a very special One Ring card because loads of streamers were opening packs on stream and whatnot. So that was like a whole big thing that was going on. I don't think we can open packs to get this revolver. But
No, well, I mean, you can open barrels, right?
yeah,
That's actually something we didn't mention is that, this is yet to be determined if it's included in the loot tables for weapon barrels.
yes,
That'd be something to find out it wasn't.
for a lovely price of about almost $15 a pack. Go open those barrels and try your luck.
Depends on where this revolver ends up. If it's $100 revolver, people might be sweating over those barrels to try to get one.
Do you know what? Should we probably really quickly bring up that pistol from Halloween maybe a year or so ago? That was a bit of a weird situation, wasn't it? What was it called? Demon pistol? Yeah, demonic pistol. Yeah, let me just...
Yeah.
SCMM's just having a moment.
A year ago, it was a few years back now, but yeah, that's...
There we are, yes.
So that.
Now...
That's a skin that was submitted to the workshop, but it was never formally accepted by Face Punch.
Yes.
By one situation or another, I don't think we really have a clear picture of why, but this was somehow added to the loot tables for weapon barrels.
Yes. So over the course of a good couple years now, since the Halloween it came out, SCMM's just taking its time, don't worry. It'll load when it wants to load. Everyone that had been opening barrels randomly found this pistol, but it kind of came out of nowhere. What's going on? Well, when it loads, take your time. we can look at it on the Steam market.
Show it on the workshop or the
So
community market.
This demonic pistol was randomly appearing, and at the moment you can see the value of it currently at $100 because that's what the lowest listing is. You can see Bilder's going up to $74 almost, and if we look over here you can see how it first came out. Do you see that initial random $2,000 purchase right there? Well, that was probably when the very first one appeared. That is this right here. See this these massive prices here. This is when people were probably first realizing what this was, and there might have been a bit of a scream about, oh my god, it's super rare, it's super valuable. But as time has gone on and more of these barrels were opened, more of them became available. Oh, SCMM's loaded up now, so we can take a look at that. But yeah, I guess you could say this is in a somewhat fairly similar position than for what this revolver's in. But yeah, the
difference here was that for the demonic pistol, the quantity literally started at 1 and grew over time as they were introduced by case openings, versus this No Mercy E-Class, which is, getting plopped down with 150 or so estimated at minimum as a, pretty solid floor, with an unknown amount that actually have been put into circulation. But still, the demand is going to be there and supply is low.
You can see a whole discussion on its workshop page. It's pretty cool. Loads of people saying, hold on to them, they're going to be super rare, not realising there's still more of them appearing in circulation. That's a cute little thing.
There's a ton of stories if you look in the workshop. If you were to look back at all the desirable skins, whether that's the demonic pistol here or the punishment mask or any number of the rare skins in the game, you can look at all the different stories, and a lot of them have the conversation. You could sort of learn about how this unfolded right through the comments.
Just don't look at that discussion I first clicked. He was a little bit angry. He didn't see that, I'm sure. But it's very nice. It's very interesting just to read into what they're all saying, because they're all like, surely it's going to be worth this or that or this or that. And then, of course, it all the way went down to about $100, which is what it's currently selling for right now. And as more happen to appear from weapon barrels, I guess you could say the value is decreasing. But for the longest time, if we quickly go back over to here on the actual market page. I don't think we have it, so we'll just quickly click here. Yep, real quick. It's been fairly stagnant for a very long time, as you can see around here. Like for the past, let's say, year or so, it's just kind of been sitting around under $100, kind of going up and down a fair bit. But as you look at it in the long term, hasn't really budged that much. So
it's ever so slightly trending down in that graph, and I mean those fluctuations. There's a little bit of a dip there, surprisingly, around Christmas time. But
well, more barrels were probably open because people had spare money to spend. There you go. There you go. So
there definitely seems to have reached an equilibrium around $100 or so, and as the supply goes up or the demand for them goes down, we may see that price evolve over time. But for right now, the game is still popular. It's desirable to have rare items, so this is probably going to hold its price for quite a while, I would imagine.
So looking at that and just kind of figuring out reasons behind some of these things happened, I kind of want to touch on something, especially with these revolvers here. Most notably, Micro, all the revolvers that kind of sit around the No Mercy revolver here, based on lower subscribers. I'm looking at all of these revolvers at the moment, mate, and I'm noticing all of them came out in 2017. Why? What's all this about? And we did actually discuss this before, but we'll just go through the motions in this. What made 2017 so special? Why do these all have such low subscribers? AKA, why did hardly any people jump in and buy these skins when they were in the Rust store? So here is a normal Rust store from what we can see like this. Were you about to say something, good sir?
No, I'm following your lead here. Go right ahead.
So this is what we have. I mean, it's complete the sets Rust store, so it's a fairly big one. But let's just go to the featured, because limited was a fairly recent change back in 2021. We're going to go ahead, or actually more specifically, I'm just going to highlight this. We're going to use Wayback Machine. Now, Wayback Machine can look at the Rust stores from quite literally all the way back to 2015. And I can show you that right now. So if I click 2015, it can see some like snapshots of Rust stores back then. So let's click November 13, 2015. So I click that. Might take a while for it to load up, but what you'll see is the old format for how the Rust store used to be. Because you know how we had like 15 skins there, and they're all just limited and whatnot? Yeah, this is how it used to be. Fairly expensive, and you used to have a massive stack of them. What does that mean? If you've played TF2, you know the Manco store, right? It's quite literally just hats and whatnot in the store. You can buy them directly if you really want to. It was essentially like that before. Every good couple of weeks, maybe a month's time, you'd see another nice new batch of skins being introduced. The store just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So what I want to do now is just show you a Rust store from 2016, because something happened between 2016 and 2017, which what we believe is caused a lot of these skins to not get purchased as much. And now we're noticing the repercussions, because with all of these very low sales, technically speaking, what was the cause? Well, 2016 going into 2017 appears to be... Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click all here. I want to just show you how many of these skins were in the Rust store back then, if it loads up. Do you see it? Do you see how it says 87? Now you understand. Now you understand what it was like. So they just keep piling up, just keep piling more and more onto it. It was a big sandwich, I guess. So many things.
Look at some of those oldies in there, man.
Yeah, no. Like ammo wooden box used to be $5.50. How much is that now? That drops for us, doesn't it? Be Chills hoodie. Yeah, I know. It's nice. It's a nice look into the past. Remember, Wayback Machine. You can look at this yourself. Well, we got a good insight to what the Rust store used to look like in 2016. Why don't we go and see what happened in 2017? So
can you show? Oh yeah. Show 2017.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the weapons.
Now, for example, I think I'm going to go to about, let's go like June. June is probably just going to be a nice quick look. So here we hop over to June, and what do we see when it loads? It's going to take a while. Just be aware of that. When you use this website, it can be a fair bit slow. It's got to remember a lot. So many memories.
You got to send someone to the back to go get the hard drive and put it in the machine. This is like... Immediately,
I see a revolver here. But what you see here is a Rust store with a lot less skins. So the answer basically is, in 2017, around it was around springtime, Facepunch decided, let's change things up. Instead of just having a really big fat Rust store where we just keep piling more and more and more skins onto it, why don't we change it so we have a weekly format? These skins will only be around for 1 week, and then that's that. We then rotate in some new skins, and if you didn't buy the skin back then, that's it. Tough luck. It's gone. And that is the answer. That appears to be the answer. So here's the Firefighter revolver, which ever so coincidentally is the one literally right next to the No Mercy revolver. That's actually a massive coincidence. I did not prepare for that. But what basically is the expected behavior is everybody was used to this type of Rust store. Oh, I don't need to rush into buying that. I could just probably wait a week or two. I could just probably wait a week or two. I could just, you might not have the money at the time. I'll just wait till payday, or I'll just wait till my other skins sell, and then I can buy that. There's no sense of urgency. When this type of Rust store appeared, they didn't realise, or most people weren't in the position of being prepared for the fact that once it's gone, it's gone. You know, maybe the prices were fairly similar on the Rust Steam market afterwards. Maybe that was fine. But of course, not that many people bought these because of course.
I think there's some other factors too. I mean, let me just echo what you said. I mean, obviously, people in the earlier days were growing accustomed to seeing that store remain up and have the freedom to come and go and purchase whenever they want with no real time restriction because the skins weren't being taken away. And in fact, if you look back at some of the older like Rustified blog posts and the dev blogs that Gary was making at the time, they were like adding to the store. They were like deploying new skins to the store and expanding it, but they weren't replacing the old ones. So from a player perspective, from the expectation that was sort of set, is that store would continue to grow and be added to over time, and the ones that are there will remain there until that gets filled up. And I think the sentiment from Facepunch back in the day was that, that they would be sold until they felt there was enough of them sold and that they wanted to bring new ones in. And I think, as Hedge pointed out, there was a turning point where there was a shift in the way they did things. And of course, the people that followed the updates that were, being introduced, being shared by Rustified and other outlets at the time, Sergeant Solge back in the day, these guys were announcing these news and the developments, but they, this was sort of a new thing, and I think a lot of people were caught by surprise. So
yes,
like I said, there was the core fanatics who understood because they were paying attention, and then a lot of people who were very casual. Remember, back in the day, Rust wasn't like super popular of a game. There was a lot of people that weren't sure about it. Maybe they didn't have much fun playing with it. Rust didn't used to be refined as much as it is now, so it was more crude and a little bit more less interesting. There was far less things in the game to do besides just, the basic survival mechanics. Everything was different. Base building was different. The blueprint mechanics were different. The weapon recoil behavior obviously was all different. And, there was the interest of players at the time. They really didn't know what Rust was going to become. You didn't have the investor mindset back then buying a couple of something, they just bought one. And considering they're faced with so many options, you'll see, on some of these stores, there's like multiple revolvers in the store at that time. So if you bought the one you want, you might not buy the other ones that are there, and you sort of forfeit your chance to get them from the store. So there was a lot of factors contributing to rarity. And here's one, Hedge, that I'm not sure we even talked about when you and I were discussing this offline. Back in January 2017 is when the Python was introduced.
Yeah.
So as a revolver, as a pistol, they sort of fill a very similar role.
Yep.
And remember, gun balance was way different back then.
We didn't have tiers.
Yeah. There was so much. The game was way different, and the way the guns worked was different, and some of the guns were much stronger or weaker than they are now.
So the interest in buying a revolver, for example, wasn't really there.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's clever. No. Oh, that does make sense. Oh yeah, because everybody didn't they nerf it initially? Because that did happen quite a lot back then, if I recall.
Everything went up and down back then.
Yeah.
Went up and down. The revolver got changes. I mean, the meta just shifted and evolved over time. And, all of those little adjustments definitely impact the desire for certain guns. So when you have a skin on the store and there's 3 revolvers and you can only really reasonably, as a player without a whole lot of confidence in the future of the game, you might only buy a 1. And I can definitely understand, based on some of those factors, why this would be considered low sales, just because after all this time, what's it been, 6 or 7 years this has been out in the world, and look at SCMM, and the data for this thing shows that there's like, a couple dozen. It's really wild that it, this is sort of a really exclusive skin if you look at it that way. So probably a lot of players have no idea some of these skins even exist,
Yeah. I was just looking at the Rust door. Hey, it's the Wise door, not the Wisdom door. that very weird. Why are there so many coincidences? Well,
yep. Okay, you're right. You got me.
Whoa. Hang on a minute. Let me just check. Does that guy still exist with like tons of them? Well, we see a guy of 89. It might be him. But yeah, that's a very weird but cool callback. Like that was cool. But I was just quickly looking at this old Rust store, and like,
it's amazing to look back through old stores to just see what's out there and what's what happened all at the same time. You look back and you're like, oh, I remember that. I haven't seen that skin in years. And meanwhile, right next to it is one that you use all the time. And you faked me out when you said the Wisdom door before, because we're talking about rare skins and sort of mistakes here. And the Wisdom door is another one that was like an insane extreme low availability due to a mistake kind of situation. So that's a perfect example of something that routinely sells for like a maximum Steam wallet each and every time.
Yeah.
The Wise door, that's something that was like monopolized by somebody who just bought a whole ton of them, right?
Yeah. But like, this also gives you a very good insight. Back then, a few hundred sales was quite a lot. Yep, just several hundred sales. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Yep, that's fine. That's healthy. That's normal. Look at it. Again, all we got to do is just take a quick look to nowadays, do a nice little comparison, and it's ridiculous, the amount of sales that we have. But of course, if we do a parallel with the amount of people that are currently playing and whatnot, it's not too hard to understand, is it? So I think overall, based on the things that you've brought up, the statistics that we have in front of us, none of this should be really that surprising. So, yeah, only 29 people bought this. But the whole format of this was fairly relatively new. Not a ridiculous amount of people were playing the game. As you said, it was still kind of rough around the edges back then. Face Punch took a long time to really figure out how they wanted it and how everything was going to work. This used to have zombies. It don't anymore, but it used to be. It used to be one of those type of survival games. But with every new update, every new monument, every new useful gadget and whatnot that they introduce, the game, I guess you could say, does change in a different way. but it is what Rust is now. And back then, it was quite a completely different experience. Not like hardly anyone back then was even considering investing into Rust skins and whatnot. Very surprised to see TGG was still around then. He's been around forever, hasn't he? Blimey. But
he's been around since I think 2018 or 2017 when
he's committed.
Then XTab got the boot.
Yeah,
that was there was a change of command there as a bit of a situation kind of unfolded, and it looks like this might have been the pivotal week, in fact, here, a moment in history when things changed. Many things change, and they're changing all the time, but we have seen a change of guard there for the great and powerful administrator of the skin world, and that is Mr. TGG himself.
Yes. And as you are aware, every 3 or so months, TGG gets his own skin as a thank you for the top picks lists that he does every single week. So a lot of
hard work. He deserves the recognition. I respect that. He's got a tough job to do, and he's been doing a good job for a long time now. So it's nice to see him still here.
And if I just scroll down, do you know what the biggest surprise was? This is a Bad Trip skin. If you don't know, Bad Trip is the most successful skin creator with the most acceptances into Rust.
Guess who made the No Mercy revolver that is bringing us here together to speak today?
Again, it's so many strange, silly callbacks made by Bad Trip. It's weird. Everything just kind of...
We're looking at the old store, one of the stores from 2017 on SCMM, and I was just noticing the icons there, the profile pictures, like who made what, and all the different names of people that were popular back then, and to see them still in the workshop, still making stuff, and you can really see the progression. You could see the evolution of their work over time, and some of it has to do with the game improving too, and the way it displays the skins and the options the creators have in terms of materials and whatnot. But yeah, I see Vase there. I see Mishka. I see Bad Trip. So now there's a bunch of guys there that are gone. They haven't posted in years. But
Mokri, Bracula, and Couple. Yeah. And I think I can actually click their names and it'll show me every single skin that they had accepted. So Couple looks like he hasn't been around since about 2018. But yeah, there's a lot of information available in SCMM. Just take a look. Just go for a wander. It would be nice if you could just click like a random store like page. There you go, Bipolar Penguin. Just add a randomize button and then just show me something random from like 2018 or 19, whatever. Just click it. That'd be cool. Just to take a look. And yeah. So I kind of feel like we got probably everything considered now. So with all of this information that we've like looked at and whatnot, one thing that I was trying to look at was what was it? What week was this? This is what month is this? 20. So this is the 13th. I think I can actually find this Rust store. 15th of July. Right, let's see. But based on everything that we've discussed, all the information that we put out there, all the context that we could possibly think of and whatnot, I guess we could probably sit here and say, in the grand scheme of things, we can sit there and say the No Mercy E-Class Revolver is special for what basically happened, but it's not exactly...
Very cool.
Very cool, yeah. So it's not exactly the rarest, though. But based on what happened, the notoriety, being aware of the type of people out there that want to buy out all the skins for the likes of a Flex and whatnot, like...
for my profile. I'm saying, if you guys are going to do that, leave one for me, or put it aside for me. I'll scoop it up off you. But yeah.
So yeah, I can.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
I can see the revolver here. Yeah, I can see the revolver here. And yes, if you got any spare, yeah, sure, we might buy some. Come on, just we can sort out a deal. We can sort out a deal. We accept donations. Give us donations. Give them all, please. Give me. But yeah, just a little insight, just a little bit of looking. Use some of the tools that are available to you, and you can look into the past. You can look at what's available, and yeah, You probably thought, we'll probably wrap this all up in about 10 minutes. No, we love to talk, but there's so much to discuss.
It's an interesting story. I mean, I think this really is fascinating, and we talk about it all the time. Sales numbers every week, every item. You know, when's the last time you saw something sell less than like 10,000 items? Yeah, it happens occasionally on special weeks when maybe it's a big event, Halloween or whatever, Easter, when there's 20 something skins, but it's like, for what amounts to a more common regular thing. I mean, it's not a massive week. It is bigger than your average, but it's not like, okay, this is a pretty cool store. I mean, it's complete the sets. This actually is a pretty, personally satisfying store. Won't go into the whole story, but, you know, that No Mercy thing is like an example of something that is exceedingly rare in modern times, you know, just from, the way things usually go, it's unusual for something to sell so few. And with the way people are these days, you know, finding interesting ways to flex and collect and you know, to show off their quick decision making and you know, in 1,000 IQ buying strategy, there investing strategy. You know, I think there's going to be those people that are out there. So we'll see. We'll see.
The main question is it either going to be marketable or tradable? We've just spent all that time discussing it, and if it turns out to be non-tradable, non-marketable, I'm going to flip.
It'll just be another chapter in the story, really, because, you know, we do have all the data that shows currently that it plans to be marketable. We don't yet know if it's going to be abnormal, although it is a normal price, so we don't expect it necessarily to be marketable tonight. But tomorrow we will know, and you know, it's got its own name. It's got its own asset ID and Steam item definition.
And its own special tag. Yes, because it's...
You're right. It's actually marked as special. Can you show that on the...
I'm actually going to need to quickly grab a screenshot. It's lucky that people sent these to me. Yep, here's Mr. Kua. He sent this to me, and yep, special edition. So I think... Face Punch are definitely going to run with it. I think they're definitely going to commit to releasing this. Tradable, marketable.
Blown away if this wasn't marketable.
Yeah.
If this wasn't marketable, I would be floored. But, I mean, we can't be sure at this time. You know, there's nothing set in stone, but all signs point to it being marketable. So,
yeah.
Can't wait to get mine.
Try.
I just wish I got one. On Thursday, man. I was loading the game to open up the store because, of course, it hadn't yet rotated on the website. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Went wrong on my end, and I couldn't get it in there in time. And
hey, it was a monkey paw. It was a monkey paw. You wanted a skin accepted. Well, you got one accepted, and you'll be happy.
I couldn't be happier, Hedge. I couldn't. I really couldn't. So I'll take the L on the revolver for now, but...
You're not the one who's been told to buy tons of them from his own chat. How many do I have now? Let's just go take a look. I mean, this definitely ain't going to be rare. I'm one who's buying all of them.
Don't go in hard on that, people.
Yeah. Well, you know, make a kilt. Come on now.
Yeah. It's whatever. It's up to you. I'm not going to give you any advice there.
It's all good. So
it is legendary. I'll tell you that much.
The one thing that we'll have to wait and see now is it abnormal? If not, is it a regular skin? If not, then we know it's non-tradable, non-marketable. But we've got to be prepared for that. So that was a very long insight, a long talk. I now have to go ahead and start figuring out what price I might want to offer for it, because that's going to be fun, isn't it? But I feel like for all the chat who managed to survive all of that talk, thank you for sticking with us, and we hope that was nice and insightful. For the abnormal buyers now, we need to go figure out what price we want to offer. $1? Oh, come on now.
I'm going higher than $1. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you as much as that, and I'll leave the rest to you, Hedge.
Yeah. So is that all good then? Do you reckon that's a wrap, good sir? It was a nice talk.
Thanks a lot for inviting me on to talk about this. I think we definitely unpacked the mathematics behind all this stuff and tried to be as insightful as we could using the tools we have. And well, it's all in your hands now to see how this goes and to keep track of it as the situation evolves. And it certainly will be an exciting one to keep our eyes on not every day that something like this happens. And as we all know, if we're one of those people like who, you know, sits on the edge of their seat waiting for the store to rotate every week, you know that this isn't the kind of thing that happens regularly.
No.
So there's always something new, you know that? And
there's always something new.
I'm happy to see it, honestly. I think this is a cool, special little weird instance to happen. And, you know, I wouldn't be upset if it happened again, but I just got to get one next time it happens.
Yeah. I just saw Warhead try to make a subscription appear and do some voices stuff, but you fool, I've turned it off from this scene. You can't interrupt our lovely talk. But guys, thank you very much for enjoying sitting there and taking all of that in. And fingers crossed we see it be marketable, and then we get to see how many truly are out there. And yeah, enjoy the gun, I guess, and let's see how expensive potentially is. So once again, thank you very much, Micro, and once again, thank you very much to all of you who watched and listened. Catch you all later.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
See you and goodbye.
See you next time.
All right.
Bye.